I got one last job to do on this thing, guys. Alright, so on these Monacos, Holiday Ramblers, Beavers, I think about 2004, 2005 they started adding an Aladdin monitoring panel system. It wasn't just your monitoring system that handled the electrical and tanks and your normal house stuff, but also talked to the Roadmaster chassis. Now that system went obsolete during the Great Recession and it's no longer supported. But the systems, as long as the modules are still good, it does still work. And so on this one, the holding tanks aren't reading correctly. But we can fix that because those pressure transducers, the sensors, they're replaceable. So we're going to go ahead and replace all three of these, and I'll show you how to reprogram the system. Usually all that happens is the sensor goes bad. Sometimes they get clogged. It's pretty gross. Now this will be the same on both the gray, the black, as it is on the freshwater tank. So I'm just going to walk you through the freshwater tank because it's going to be the easiest. Then on this, a Beaver, you have to go through that water compartment right here. Let me turn the flashlight on for you. Here, right. So we're going to follow this around. Oh, you know where it's at? So we're going to go to this compartment just in front of the passenger side wheels. And right here you can see the fresh water tank, and look at what's right next to it. That's that sensor. This is what goes bad. It's just a pressure sensor. So the first step is going to be to drain the water out, because quite honestly we have to pull that out. When we pull that out, all the water's going to run out. So that's the first step. It also gets us ready for the next step, which is after the sensor is replaced. So we're just going to open up the drain. I'll just drain out right there. Right, so on this one, our Aladdin system, our monitor panel, is in a radio. Because why wouldn't it be? So the Aladdin controls are right there. It's hard to see, but it is on. So there's our Aladdin. Just gonna cursor down, up, down, left, right. Right is select, left is back. So I'm gonna go to coach tank. Alright, so I know the freshwater tank is empty, but look, it's saying it's got 10 gallons in it and 10% full. That is not true. So we're going to go change out that sensor, put some sealant on it, put it in, and come back up here. So right here is just the sensor. So it looks really high tech. Some people might be in an industrial world where they actually use these. This is not an RV specific part whatsoever. It's just a sensor that Aladdin decided to use. So we call it a pressure transducer. I don't know if you can see down in there. It's got like a silicone waterproofing on it, and looking past there it looks like a little microchip is in there. That should be the pressure transducer. It just hooks up with a phone cable. What was that, RJ11? So it's a really straightforward job. We're just going to unscrew the old one and put sealant on the threads, and then screw in the new one and plug in the phone. Alright, come back to this compartment right here. And definitely we're at the very bottom of the tank, which is right there. Valve is open and just barely leaking anything out because we're empty. So what we got to do first is there's a like a rubber cap. Just pull it back out of the way. That way you can unplug the connector. So there it is. Pretty straightforward. Always inspect this and make sure it doesn't have a corrosion on it, because it is a water sensor and it could have leaked, and there's no reason to replace it out if the connection's not going to work well. So I'm just going to get on this one, let's get some channel locks on it. I'm just going to unscrew it. Just a silly place to put a heat exchanger, of course. So this is the Aqua Hot heat exchanger, so that if the Aqua Hot's on and this bay gets too cold, it'll kick that little heater on. You just want to keep it right above freezing. And this one, you can see hidden right there. That's actually the thermostat that controls that. So don't play with that, or else you'll keep your bay at like 85 degrees, which I mean, I guess you could if you want to keep it at 85 degrees. Let me go ahead and get that taken out. So this is actually a pretty old one. They haven't been gray for a long time. Ooh. not too bad in there. The gray and black tanks are going to be gross. You know, on the new one, I'm just going to be using some pipe dope, some thread sealant. You can actually use my favorite GeoCell Pro Seal or ProFlex. It does really great because it will actually stick to wet surfaces, but it's also like dealing with tar and it gets everywhere, and I don't want to get my hands covered with it right now. This stuff works just as fine. Let me just go ahead and get some of that put on there, and then we'll put the new one in. So I got that all sealed off. Go ahead and thread the new one in. Now this is plastic thread, so don't cross thread it. So yeah, if this was a ProFlex on here, I'd be making a big old mess, and then I'd be risking getting some sealant inside that phone connector, and then we have even bigger problems there. Let me tighten that up with some channel locks real fast. Alright, so with that tightened up, we just have to plug it back in. Now, we're going to fill this up. If this leaks right here, what I will normally do is get a large hose clamp, probably about, I don't know, 1.5 inches, and I'll wrap it around this collar right there on the tank. And then you tighten it up. That collar will then squeeze against all the threads. Obviously you don't want to go crazy on it, you're just trying to clamp it down a little bit. So there's just a phone connection, it's just like plugging in a phone. I don't know if any of us remember how to do that anymore. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and close this valve off because that valve would have been in the way anyways. Oh, that's a tight guy right there. Alright, now this is the important part. This is what everybody's watching this for. So with that put on now, like I said, this is the important part. Let's go ahead and try to close this off a little bit so you guys can see the screen a little bit better. Alright, so with that out of the way, okay, the Aladdin system turned off. We just have to push it back on to turn it back on. So remember I said when we drained the tank, that was one of the first steps we had to do anyways. So changing out that sensor is a pretty straightforward job. Draining the tank's a really easy job. So if I were to check it right now. All right, so what we want to do now is go down to system options right there. Go to system setup, and now you need the special code. I'm going to tell you what the special code is. It's 12. Oh, it's hard to do this on my phone. It's 1218. All right. So now we need to do tank calibration because we're doing the freshwater tank. We'll go to that one. Now if we go to freshwater tank right there, you see right here, we have the freshwater. This is the raw data straight from those sensors right there. So at empty, that sensor is saying that 54, the value 54 is empty. I don't know if you can see that right now, but it's programmed for 39 being the value of empty. So what we need to do is select empty and move this to, I'm going to put it as 55 or 56. Yeah, I'm going to put 55. Alright, where it says raw tank must be empty. So we know that it's empty. So I'm just going to go to the right, and that now set that. Now obviously the next step we have to do is fill the tank up. And as the tank gets filled up, that raw data is going to be moving up. The fresh tank is the easiest one because you can actually see when it's full. And whatever the raw data is when it's full, you're going to put it over here. And then you empty it, and then you can watch the tank go from full to empty. That'll be the exact same procedure for gray and black tank. Now the gray and black ones are going to be behind, well, some of them are here. If you look right there, there's the sensor. And that's going to be going to the black tank because, well, I can see the black tube right there. Got the gray one. Again, it's going to be at the bottom of the tank. So we just have to look for the bottom of the tank, and there's the bottom of the tank right there, right past that red tube and that white elbow. That's where the other sensor is. Now gray and black tanks are grosser, so I won't be bothering to show you guys how to do that. It's the exact same procedure. Empty the tank, change out the sensor, put the new sensor, get the raw data with it empty, fill the tank up, put the raw data when it's full. Now, of course, it's difficult to know when the black tank or the gray tank is full. But the black tank, on most of these Monacos, they should have at least one toilet that's a gravity toilet, so you can still see inside the toilet. So you'll fill it up to the bottom of the 3-inch pipe from the toilet, basically touches water. But definitely watch the entire time. You don't want to overflow the black tank with the toilet open, because, I mean, I've never done it, but I've had a friend who's maybe done that before. It's gross. The gray tank's a little bit more complicated because you can't really tell. Even if you were to go knock on the tank, you can't really tell for sure. Generally, the raw data between the gray tank and the black tank will be the same as the gray tank, because they're the same height, and so it should be about the same information. But basically, the shower drain is the low point of the gray tank. So if the shower starts backing up, you're full. If I've ever done that, then I'll drain out the gray tank until all the water in the shower is empty, get the raw data, and set it at that point. So now we have to fill up the freshwater tank. So if I were to go to back, so I'm still in the calibration screen, so I'm just gonna hit the back button. Go back, go back, go back. If I go up to coach tanks right now, I haven't set the full level, but I have set the empty level. So look at that, now it's reading empty. Okay, let's go fill up the freshwater tank. All right, pay no attention to the leaking hose. That's on my end. We got it hooked up to the city water connection here. And right here, we added this valve, so now you can fill up the freshwater tank. All right, now you just have to fill it up. All right, so with that freshwater tank filling, now you'll see our raw data is going up. It was at like 53. Oh, it's going up even as we speak. And it's not a linear, it's pretty exponential. So it doesn't just go straight. Usually about 200, once it gets to 200, it goes up to like 300 really fast. It's slow to get to 200. And then it goes from 300 to 400 almost instantaneously. All right, so now we're at about quarter tank maybe. It says 150. All right, looks like we're about full there. Let's go inside. All right, got that turned off. So it says the raw data on fresh is now 280 and it's set for 324, so we need to change that too. Alright, that should reprogram it. Now it knows what full is and what empty is, and it can make the calculations in between at that point. So if I go back and I go back and I go back and I go up to tank, no, wrong one, tank. Look at that, freshwater tank is full now. Nice. Just do the gray tank and the black tank. Those would be harder. Now on this setup, it's easier to see. This is the gray tank. This is the black tank. You might be asking, well, then what are these sensors for? These are actually for the toilet, the mass rating toilet. Not a lot of people know that, but it won't let the tank or the toilet flush if the tank is full. And so it needs to know if the tank is full. So that's what those are for. This has nothing to do with the monitor panel. That's just for the toilet itself. So I just have the hose in the shower. We'll fill that up through the gray tank. Should fill up a lot faster through the hose than through a faucet. Now, because I have pretty good access to the back of the tanks here, I can actually hear water still going in there. So you should be able to see the water going through it. I can see it if we focus on it maybe. Alright, you'll notice what was a green light is now a yellow light. So we must be getting pretty close to being full, because it would be at the almost full mark. See, mid-tank level. So it'll turn red once we're at the full tank level. Alright. Now we got a red light there. So if I push that, nothing happens now. So now we just need to set our black tank to just about the same as the gray tank, just like I said. I'm gonna set it to 75. All right, so now if I go back, all of our tanks are reading full. There's one more important thing we have to do. Well, I mean, obviously we have to drain the tanks, at least the black and gray, right? We need to go ahead and look at our sensors and make sure they're not leaking. Nope, just sealant. So that was an important thing to do. We got 2 more to look at. All right, so right there, and it does seem to be leaking. So that's not good. And then right there, and that one's not leaking. Awesome. Looks like I'm gonna have to put that hose clamp on, just like I said I was gonna have to. And all my tanks are full. Awesome. All right, so I'm just gonna use this about 1.5 inch, 1 3/4 hose clamp. Put it on just like that, and then tighten it up. Hopefully that'll squeeze everything together and get it nice and tight. Alright, I got it all wiped off. It wasn't much of a leak, but now it's not leaking anymore. And since that was doing that, we might as well do it on the black tank too. Alright, maybe you can see a little bit better on this one what we're doing. Basically, we're just wrapping that hose clamp around. These threads that are female, they'll get clamped around the male pipe thread of that sensor. So now all we have to do is drain the tanks. Alright, black tank's full. So I guess we'll do the right thing first and drain the black tank first, right? Alright, well, it's going down pretty fast there. And I'm just going to follow up the gray. And so, look at that. Black tank is empty. Alright, let's do the gray tank now. I think the gray tank holds a lot more, so it'll take a little bit longer to drain through 1.5 inch compared to 3 inch. Well, it's starting to go down. I'm probably going to leave the freshwater tank full. I don't see any real reason to drain it. I'll be doing some other things anyways. Alright, look at that. Gray tank is empty. Just a little trickle coming out there. So there it is, guys. I hope that helps somebody. This is not just standard on 2008 Monacos or Beavers. This is going to be on all Aladdin systems from the beginning to the end. Even if your Aladdin, how do I put this? I know Aladdin's not really supported anymore, but like I said, these sensors, they're industrial sensors, so you can still get them and you can still reprogram them. It's still a pretty simple thing to do. Just need to make sure you can fill the tanks, drain the tanks, and check for leaks. Hope that helped you guys. Hey, look at that. Let me turn the light off. We got a green light now. Black tank is empty. Alright, so I have evidence that I just dumped the black tank on my hand there, but now this one's black. The gray one was still gray, and this one looks like it's been changed out before. Oof. Alright, now if you want to ask me why somebody decided that pressure sensors were better than non-contact sensors, like mostly modern RVs use, I couldn't tell you the answer. I can almost guarantee the non-contact ones you see in like sea level from Garnet will always work. These will have to be replaced every 5 years or so, especially on the black tank. Aladdin system, obviously they don't exist anymore, but Silverleaf that you'll find in like country coaches and Newells and I guess now Newmars now, huh? Along with all the rest of the buses. They do use these pressure transducers. So either this style or a little bit different style. It's brass instead of plastic. Did you know you can change the color on this? Reminds me of that DOS. Remember you could have fun playing with all the colors? No, I did that a lot as a kid. And it flashes again. Nice. And this one did not have a gravity toilet. Just one toilet. So I think this is going to be the last thing we have to do on this one. At least that we're going to share with you guys. I don't know if you can see all these parts that I've been slowly replacing here, along with all the other things you have seen and haven't seen. So I'm really excited about getting this part done.